Hello and welcome. Hello, hello. Great to be here. Thank you for joining. I'm Annie Moyer. This is Sun and Moon Yoga Studio. This is our YouTube channel, and this is our weekly Wednesday night meditation and Dharma talk. And we've got some lovely people here in the room with us, and we've got you lovely people watching online. And so let's begin with just some quiet sitting. Step one, get comfortable, get some awareness of whatever is supporting you, the floor, the ground underneath that, furniture, props, blankets, walls, chairs, whatever it is. Just tune into that as part of your experience in this moment. And as part of the support that we build around ourselves consciously and deliberately, so that we can embrace the stillness, knowing that we are held in that stillness. Notice the length of your spine in whatever angle it is currently arranged, whether you're reclined or seated or halfway between the two. Just notice the length and space in your spine, and feel the alert uprightness of your body. And even if you're reclined, let the uprightness be a sense of space between the floor and your back and your chest and your belly, and a breadth, a width, a wideness from left side to right side, and a length from tail to crown. And then bring your awareness to your breath. And let that be, for the time being, an anchor for your thoughts. A place where you can return after a foray out into random thinking and discursive storytelling that we do. Come back to that anchor, come back to the breath. Let an inhale arise. Note that it is arising. And let an exhale fall. And note that it is falling. Taking the breath in, letting the breath out. Nothing else that needs to be done. And it can get dicey in there, in that head of ours. That's what the breath is for. I mean, that's not really, breath is for keeping us alive, but it's also to provide a steady return to presence. Powerful reminder that all is well in the microscopic analysis of things. It's all we have is just each moment as it comes. This is gentle work. Be gentle with ourselves, with our tendencies, with our inclinations, gentle with our um, our patterns of worry. Gently come back. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. Just like the sun rises and the sun sets. And we can capture ourselves in a moment, but rather than be in captivity of that moment can offer a freedom. And so much of that freedom lies in the recognition of the full presence of here and now, and knowing that there's nothing else. There's a whole lot of memory, and there's a whole lot of projection and prediction and future. But none of that is happening right now. What's happening right now is just an inhale. And then it's just an exhale. So just another minute or two here. Invite the next breath in, maybe give it a little extra oomph, a little deepening, a little quickening, and let it go back out. And perhaps shift your position, awaken the body in some way, and come back to your present moment surroundings. So imagine that you were wandering around northern India in the 5th century before the Common Era, and this dude showed up in a park across the street and said, "I figured it all out, you guys. I'm awake for the first time in my life. I did it. You want to know how?" And so you might say, "Well, Siddhartha, how did you become the Buddha? What did you do with all these crazy thoughts that I know we all have? How'd you do it? How did you overcome your mind's tendency for crappy thinking?" And so somebody did ask the Buddha that, and his answer was, he drew a line. He said, "I realized that there are two types of thoughts. And one type of thought is the crappy kind, where it's full of really intense grasping and desire that blinds me to truth. It's full of anger and ill will and blinds me to truth. It's cruel, judgmental, or delusional. It blinds me to truth." And on the other side, the other kinds of thoughts are the ones that awaken my heart, that lead me to compassion and kindness and care and allow me to be friendly and to let go of the things that I have convinced myself I needed. I drew a line between those two kinds of thoughts. And if my thoughts were on one side of that line, I recognize that they lead me to affliction, either in myself or they lead me to inflict affliction on others. And if I'm on the other side of that line, then they lead to ease and peace and well-being and a reduction in suffering. And it's that simple. He said, the key is to decide every time you can conjure the presence of mind to do it, to look at that last thought that took you out and say, which side of the line is that thought in? Is that going to lead to more suffering or less? The thoughts turn to words, and the words turn to actions. And so they're all wrapped up in that ball. So if the ball is bouncing on the side of the line that leads to more affliction, and we can catch it, and we can unravel it. If we're lucky enough to have the gift of time or grace or patience from those around us, we can walk it back and we can say, oh, okay, let me reframe that. Let me redo that. Let me re-say that. Let me rethink that. Right? So, do I want to cultivate thoughts that are beneficial or not? That is ultimately the question. It's an easy answer. The answer is easy. Certainly, we all do want that. I can't speak for everybody. I can't really speak for anybody, but I can speak for myself. I certainly would love a life if every single thought and word and deed going forward was beneficial to myself and to others in some way. That would be an amazing life. Short of that, at least I can keep myself honest to draw that line over and over. And it's funny because the perception of these contemplative wisdom traditions is that all is one and there are no lines and there is no separation, but that's not actually accurate. There is separation. That separation is what we call discernment. And this is what we're working with here. And this is what the Buddha said in response to, how did you deal with your crappy thoughts? And he said, I learned to discern. So in this construct, life is neutral until we decide otherwise. Events themselves don't have any innate quality, good, bad, beneficial, destructive, and neither do people. And I realize this is counterintuitive because we could make a list, a long, long list of wrongs, of events that have been harmful, of people that have done bad things. I mean, let's go top shelf, right? Was Hitler good or bad? Like, I think we can, that I can speak for everyone, pretty sure, bad. And if you happen to be somebody like Viktor Frankl, or that character in that beautiful movie Life is Beautiful, played by Roberto Benigni, right, who was the dad, and he pretended with his son that them being in the concentration camp was a game. It's fanciful. Can't imagine that actually really happened with anybody, but however, Man's First Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor's book, about how he trained his mind in captivity to have some sense of freedom, right? The events themselves were what they were, but it's what these people did with them that mattered. It's where they landed, on which side of that line. They were in horrible, deplorable, unthinkably painful circumstances. And yet there was freedom. There was the ability to transcend and to find compassion and loving kindness and care for others and care for self. Right? Doesn't change anything about the monstrosity of the situation, but it changes everything about how we cope in the throes of those situations. Other people can't make us angry or greedy or deluded. It's up to us to train the mind to withstand the deluge or even the sprinkle of natural everyday life. The Buddha compared this. He used this analogy of, it's like rain in a house where there's a leaky roof. The rain is what it is. It's our circumstances. Our mind is the roof. The roof. Do we patch the roof? Do we repair it? Do we keep it in good working condition so that it will shield us from the rain? Do we patch the mind? Do we keep it in good working condition so it can shield us from the pain, from the circumstances that are difficult. Every phenomena has the capacity to provoke a skillful state of mind or an unskillful state. A beautiful forest laid out in front of us has just as much potential to inspire joy and awe and rapture and a communal sense with nature if we stand grounded and present and take it all in, as it has the capacity to arouse thoughts of regret or sadness or anger if we stand there mad because we had to go on this hike alone, or if we try and take a photo and post it on social media and then there's no signal, and then who are we if it didn't happen if we didn't post it. It's not the forest's fault. It's us landing on a side of the line that's not allowing us to take in the moment and to choose thoughts that are skillful and wholesome. Likewise, a terrible traffic jam due to a fatal accident, backing things up for hours, has just as much potential to arouse thoughts and feelings of anger or frustration, right? If we go into blaming somebody for driving carelessly or judging ourselves for not leaving more time to travel, as it does for arousing thoughts of equanimity, trusting that we'll get where we need to go, or feelings of compassion for those who may be injured or suffering from losses in the wreck, or loving kindness and gratitude for the first responders who are on their way to help and preventing you from going where you need to go. It's not the traffic jam's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's a choice, and it's a training that we can work with to land on the side of the line that will allow us to choose the thoughts, the words, the deeds that are beneficial. Let's practice with this a little bit now. So find a comfortable position to be in, and bring to mind the last time you recall getting rattled by events or people, when your reaction landed you on a side of the line that bred more affliction. Don't overthink it. There's lots to choose from because we're all very human. But just pick one thing, a recent thing, and an easy, not your worst problem ever, but just an easy, recent, small thing. And consider how you may have reframed that circumstance. Is there a line you might draw? That allows you to land on the side of benefit, the side of skill or wholesomeness. These are words that the Buddha used, we think. So what could have inspired compassion? What may have provoked patience? How might you have released an attachment to the situation turning out differently? And we're not doing regret, and we're not doing self-blame or judgment, none of that. We're just questioning, was there a line that could have been drawn as a useful tool going forward? We're putting a little patch in the roof of the mind here, looking for the leaky spots. Is there a touchstone from this situation that can help you remember impermanence and soften the pull of identifying too strongly with things being a certain way, that they weren't. And if it feels safe to do so, reenact in your mind that circumstance and hear yourself or feel yourself finding your way to the beneficial side of the line. Remember always, it's not beneficial for anybody to tolerate abuse or injustice, and this is not the kind of line we're drawing to close our eyes to anything. Being of benefit can be a radical act, a bold act, one that requires great courage and clarity. What is of benefit? Take another few breaths here. Bring yourself back to your immediate surroundings. And so, another consideration here is whatever is on our minds frequently becomes our inclination for future types of thinking. So like breeds like, and we lay down patterns of thought, patterns in the brain. This is neuroscience, neuroplasticity. We lay down those neural pathways. So the nature of mind, the nature of our thoughts will condition similar future states of being. And just as our current state of mind will condition our future state of mind, our current state of mind has been conditioned by our past state of mind. It is never, ever, ever, ever too late to draw a new line and recondition and reroute our pathways of thinking. It's interesting to note that the Buddha said too much thinking alone, even if it's all of the beneficial sort, leads to strain and fatigue. And the images, the comparisons used are the mind could be like a wild elephant or a wandering monkey. And both expend an exorbitant amount of energy, way more than we really have to spare. And so the mind includes all of our thoughts, all of our perceptions, the way we opine on those thoughts, all of our recognitions, all of our memory, all of our experiences and plans for future actions. So that's all like very energetic stuff of the elephants, of the monkeys, of the energy consuming sort. Also, the mind can be wise and luminous, and this is a mind at rest. Ultimately, the thoughts, words, actions, behaviors that land on the side of benefit have less charge to them. They're not as hot. The Sanskrit and Pali, I think both, word for heart and mind is the same. It's chitta. And hand in hand, right? They move with us through the natural struggles of desire, fierce wanting, I want, I need. And aversion, fierce pushing away, I don't want that, I don't like that, I can't deal with that. And the delusion of who we think we really are, strongly identifying with these patterns of aversion and attachment. So, and I mention these three states of mind because they're considered the three root poisons in Buddhist philosophy and psychology. The root poison of anger or ill will, hatred, aversion, pushing away, and the one of greed, attachment, desire, pulling in, craving, grasping, and the delusion or misunderstanding about the nature of self, thinking that there's some permanence to us. And each one of those root poisons has antidotes that are just as simple as the poisons themselves. The antidote to anger or ill will or aversion is compassion. The antidote to attachment is a willingness to let go and a remembrance of impermanence. And the antidote to delusion is, bless you, to reframe the sense of I, to reframe how we identify as a being. Remembering that the self only exists in reference to others and to arising and departing circumstances. I am not one thing, and I am not alone in my current state. I'm all things rising and falling. And every other being is just as susceptible as I to those rising and falling states of phenomena. So the question then that we'll end with and follow with another short practice is, how do we nurture those antidotes? How do we train them up so that we're living more on the side of the line that is beneficial to ourselves and others? Even in their simplicity, these antidotes require care and attention. There's eight recommendations that come from the writings of Bhante Gunaratana. 1, acknowledge the tendency of craving. We all want. There are many things that we all want. Just acknowledge, accept that is a true part of living in this animal body. Number 2, recognize the possibility that there can be freedom from that craving, because what distinguishes us from the rest of the animal world in our animal bodies is this ability to discern, to know that we know that there can be freedom. The third one is to notice when the craving is not there. There's a subtlety about it to think, do I really want to watch another episode of Succession? Because I just watched 4 in a row. And there can be this beautiful freedom in realizing I don't really want that. I just conditioned myself to think that I did, and Netflix told me I did because it just brought the next one up. Number 4, is to reflect on the nature of that freedom, that state of freedom. To then, once we've acknowledged, oh, wait, I don't really want that right now, go in deeper and feel what that feels like viscerally. Is there a lightness, an ease, a deeper breath, a clearer mind? So we notice the thought, and then we notice the state of feeling that accompanies the thought or the lack of it. Is there a gentle happiness there? Is there room for compassion? Then the 5th is notice all the irritants, all of the stuff that we're trying to keep at bay, and the resulting feeling and energy and heat that goes along with that pushing away. The 6th is to notice the impact and the nature of that energy inside of us, that feeling. Can we detect that tightening, that contraction? The 7th recommendation is then to notice when aversion is not there. Because it's not always there. The tendency for it is always there, but the aversion itself is not always there. Catch those moments when it isn't present. And finally, number 8 is notice the quality and the nature of that feeling. Because remember that the tendency of the mind will condition and nurture more of that same tendency. So if we're paying enough attention to the times when these poisons are not present, then we're starting to repair those leaky spots in the brain roof, to go with this metaphor. Reprogramming our inclinations. So let's finish with another short session. And, we can't force the attachments and the aversions to not be there. Can't force that. But we can gently inquire into those tiny glimpses of calm, luminous, and cool moments that feel free. And land there and invite the breath in to celebrate, to animate, to illuminate those moments. And if you find yourself in this moment unable to feel that sense of freedom, unable to let go or shift to the other side of the line, then notice that too. And I can't promise, but I can strongly suggest that even in that glimpse of noticing, gosh, I feel so stuck, there's a little bit of freedom. And highlight that. Bring that forward. Take that into your body. Deep breath in. Big breath out. Invite yourself back into your immediate surroundings and shift and wriggle a little bit inside your body. Back to the moment. And if you'd like to join me with hands on your heart or together in front of your heart, and dedicate whatever glimpses of luminous or lightness or ease you had to the benefit of others, to the benefit of the reduction of suffering in each other and in our communities and across the planet and the universe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.